Welcome to Muscles and Magic the Gathering. Now, first things first, I am the Muscles. I am Bobby Maximus. These cards, Magic the Gathering, something that's literally been a passion of mine for 31 years. I started playing in 1994, just towards the tail end of Unlimited. So I've been collecting forever, and it's always been a massive part of my life. And today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite decks ever. It's based on Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. This is actually one of my most powerful decks as well. If you've followed this series in the past, you know I'm more of a collector than a player. I oftentimes build themed decks. I do goblin decks, I do elf decks, I do zombie decks, I do 1/1 counter decks, I do energy decks. I mean, the list goes on and on. As it stands today, I have 57 total commander decks. But I don't always build my decks with power in mind, with competitiveness in mind. But I do have a few that if I want to win a game, if I want to crush people in a game of Commander, these are the decks that I show up with. Voja, Jaws of the Conclave is one of those decks. If you like this Commander, you're going to want to stay tuned. This deck, actually, let's talk about the Commander first, and then I will dive into how this deck is built. Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. It literally is one of the best commanders in Magic the Gathering today. It's got Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 3. Ward 3 makes it super hard to get rid of. Whenever Voja, Jaws of the Conclave attacks, put X 1/1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. So there's three aspects to building a winning Voja deck. 1, you want to have a lot of elves. 2, you want to have some wolves for that card draw effect. And then 3, you want a bunch of cards to take advantage of that 1/1 counter synergy, all right? Those are the three aspects that we're going to hit today. So if you're interested in any of those things, this deck is for you. Now, just as another side note, I really wanted to build a wolf deck. Like I said, I'm into themed decks. I've got goblins, I've got elves, I've got zombies, I've got dragons, I've got angels, I've got humans, I've got vampires. I might have said vampires twice, but I am excited. You'll have to excuse me. I've got all those things, and I really wanted to build a wolf deck. But it was a real challenge with Voja because there's just not enough wolf support. So Wizards, if you're listening, I need more powerful wolves. There's simply not enough of them in the game of Magic the Gathering. That said, I've managed to represent wolves enough that I can officially call this a wolf deck, so stay tuned for that. I've got some creative ways that I was able to add them. So all that said, let's dive into Voja a little bit more and talk about these supportive cards. The first thing we are going to talk about is we are going to talk about our Planeswalkers. The first one, Freely's Llanowar's Fury, and I have this Miku Voice of Power version of it. I absolutely love Secret Lair cards. I try to include them in my decks as much as possible. Like I said, I build as much with collecting in mind as I do winning. But this card, you create a 1/1 green elf druid creature token with tap and add a green mana. So you get some mana ramp and you get an elf to help trigger Voja. The -2 ability, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You don't run enough removal in your deck, especially when it comes to artifacts and enchantments. That's massive. I don't run enough removal in my decks, to tell you the truth. So you need more. And then -6, draw a card for each green creature you control. Again, that card draw free feature. I've said it before. I'll say it again. One of the most important parts of a game of Commander is card draw and winning. And again, you're going to create those elves so it can trigger Voja. Remember what Voja does. Let's read it again. Put X 1/1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. So every time Voja attacks, you're going to get a massive 1/1 counter bonus, all right? I'm actually going to leave Voja off to the side here because we are going to reference that again and again and again. The next one, and I've actually got to flip this card because it was pre-flipped. We have Arlinn Kord, all right? The ultimate wolf planeswalker, if you will. The +1 ability, until end of turn, up to one target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance and haste. The 0 ability, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield and transform Arlinn Kord. And what does Arlinn transform to? Arlen, Embraced by the Moon. +1 ability. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until the end of turn. Super important because with all those beefy elves we're going to have on the battlefield with the 1/1 counters, trample's going to be massive. Arlen, Embraced by the Moon, deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Transform Arlen, Embraced by the Moon. That's the -1 ability. And then the -6 ability, you get an emblem with. Creatures you control have haste and tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. Absolutely massive with all those beefy creatures we are going to have on the battlefield. And the third Planeswalker today, and it's not necessarily wolf featured or elf featured, but I had to put it in this deck because, again, I'm trying to balance competitiveness and collecting. Minkskin Boo. This is one of the most powerful Planeswalkers ever. When Minkskin Boo, Timeless Heroes, enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. The +1 ability, put 3 1/1 counters on up to 1 target creature with trample or haste. And then -2 ability, sacrifice a creature. When you do, and this is the big one, Minkskin Boo, Timeless Heroes, deals X damage to any target where X is that creature's power. If the sacrificed creature was a hamster, draw X cards. So we're not going to be drawing cards because we don't have hamsters, but just the damage feature alone made Minkskin Boo an include in this deck. Now let's talk about creatures. There's 3 basic types of creatures we're going to have in this deck. Now I've got a couple of extras because they're just super competitive cards and I had to put them in. But there's 3 basic type of creatures and I'll highlight those as we go on. The first card, Dockside Extortionist. Now I know what you're going to say. It's a banned card, Bobby. I play with banned cards. The banned list has no power at my table. I don't believe in the banned list. In fact, I am opposed to the banned list. I think it's oppressive. I think it's unfair. You can't tell me that you're allowed to use a Vivi, or you're allowed to use a Shieldred, or you're allowed to even use a Soul Ring, but I can't use a Mana Cryptid Jeweled Lotus or a Dockside Extortionist. Have you ever been hammered by the Agatha's Soul Cauldron Vivi combo? It's absolutely degenerate. Just that alone means every banned card that you can name, I am going to play with. So I want to make that clear. But we have the Dockside Extortionist, not a wolf, not an elf, but a super usable card. When Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Next creature up, and this is one of the 3 creatures that's represented, a wolf. Like I said, this is my wolf-themed deck. As long as it's your turn, commanders you control have indestructible. Super important because we want to attack with Voja. It's got partner. You can have 2 commanders if they both have partner. That is not necessary here. This is just in here because this is one of the better wolf creatures, all right? And again, indestructible for Voja. Second type of creature that's highly represented here, an elf, obviously for 1/1 counters. That's probably the main theme of this deck. But it's also a great mana ramp card. 3 important parts of the game of Commander: card draw, tutors, and mana ramp. You represent those 3, you will win the game. So we have a Land War Elf, a great mana ramp card, and it's an elf, so it triggers Voja. Elvish Archdruid. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1, and then you can add a green mana to your mana pool for each elf you control. The Imperious Perfect. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. Put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. And now that I think about it, this is not just a wolf deck. This is also, frankly, an elf deck. It's kind of like a combo. But as you'll see in this deck, the elves and wolves are friends in magic mythology, so it works. Ardwid, the Weaver of Hope. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional 1/1 counters on it, equal to Arwen, Weaver of Hope's toughness. The Fyndhorn Elves, just like the Land War Elves, another mana ramp card. We have Eladrami, all right, legendary creature, elf warrior. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And then if you pay green mana, you tap 2 untapped creatures you control, reveal a card from your hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield, activate only during your turn. If you're going to have a lot of elf tokens, you need an Allosaurus Shepherd, incredible card from Double Masters. I think Double Masters is probably, let me say this, Lord of the Rings, I think, is the best Magic set of all time. He's certainly my favorite. The art, the storytelling, the cards, it's great. But the most powerful Magic the Gathering set of all time, in my opinion, is Double Masters. It's absolutely phenomenal. This spell can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. This card's worth it for that alone. And then you pay 6 mana, 2 of them being green. Until the end of the turn, each elf creature you control has base power at toughness 5/5 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other creature types. Remember I said the elves and the wolves were friends? Tolsimir, Midnight's Light. When Tolsimir enters the battlefield, by the way, this has lifelink, create Voja, Fenstalker, a legendary 5/5 green and white wolf creature token with trample. There we go, wolves represented again. Whenever a wolf you control attacks, if Tolsimir attacked to this combat, target creature an opponent controls blocks that wolf this combat if able. Another elf and one of the best mana ramp cards of all time, the Bloom Tender. For each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color. Absolutely massive in a 3, 4, or 5 color deck. Another Tolsimir. We have a lot of Tolsimirs in here. Tolsimir Wolfblood. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. White creatures get +1/+1. You can tap it and create a Voja, legendary 2/2 green and white wolf creature token. Another Tolsimir. When Tolsimir, friend to wolves this time enters the battlefield, create Voja, friend to elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. Whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and that creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Here's a card. It's not a wolf. It's not an elf, but is essential to this deck because of the 1/1 counters. It's actually deadly in this deck. Some people consider this to be the greatest 1/1 counter card of all time. Bristly built. It's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature, and then you pay 5 mana. And you can do this as many times as you want. Double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. This is a game ender. Another great mana ramp card. Mana ramp is sufficiently represented in this deck. It's why it's one of my more competitive decks. The Priest of Titania. Add a green mana for each elf on the battlefield. Check this out. Serialized card. I told you I was into collecting, and this card fit the bill because it's an elf, because it's red, and because it's green. And it's serialized. I'm going to put serialized cards in my deck. I absolutely love them. Massive part of my collection. Whenever Radka Coalition Warlord becomes tapped, another target creature you control gets +X/+X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. And I have a lot of lands in here, basic lands. Savala, Heart of the Wild, great elf. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. You pay a green mana. Add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Love this card. I actually built an awesome Brainstorm deck around this. You can check that out on my Mox Field. By the way, in the show notes, there will be a link to this deck list. Also, all my other decks. Master of the Wild Hunt Wolf featured card again. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. If you tap it, tap all untapped wolf creatures you control. Each wolf tapped this way deals damage equal to its power to target creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power divided as its controller chooses among any number of those wolves. Incredible 1-drop. Some people consider this to be the greatest 1-drop of all time. The Esper Sentinel favors card draw. Again, a big part of a competitive commander game, if you will. Whenever an opponent casts a first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. And by the way, Esper Sentinel's power is going to be massive because of all those 1/1 counters in here. Silver Fur Partisan, another great wolf. Trample, whenever a wolf or werewolf you control becomes a target of an instant sorcery spell, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield. So we don't have a lot of wolves per se, but we are going to be able to make a lot of wolves. So hence why this is my de facto wolf deck, but Wizards, please make me more wolves. Marwyn the Nurturer, another great elf and another commander that I use in another deck. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Marwyn the Nurturer. If you tap it, you add an amount of green mana equal to Marwyn's power. Fauna Shaman, tutors, right? We need more tutors, and there's not enough tutors, in my opinion, in green, in red. Black has the holy trinity of tutors, the vampiric, the imperial, the demonic. But this card is great to start a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So I mentioned, actually, before I go on, we have one more that needs to be represented. The Drannith Magistrate, again, doesn't fit the deck scene, but a super competitive card. And I decided to go all in on making this deck competitive. There's a couple of other changes that I would make that I will talk about at the end of the video. But Draenith Magistrate's a monster card. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. The third type of creature we have represented now, and this is a big one, the Shapeshifter. If I could, and I really wanted to make this deck super competitive, I would have all the Shapeshifters. Why? Changeling. This card is every creature type. So it's not only an elf, it's a wolf as well. So double triggers for Voja. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a 1/1 counter on Torian Mauler. If you really want to build a Voja deck that's competitive, get yourself some Shapeshifters. Speaking of those, the Mirror Entity, same thing. And check this out. This card in this deck this might be the best card in this deck from a synergy standpoint. You pay X, and until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. So they are going to help you with those triggers. The Realm Walker. As the Realm Walker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Honestly, in this deck, we're probably going to pick elves because there's more of them. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You can cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of your library. And then a little-known card, Shaman from Kaldheim, the Masked Vandal. When Masked Vandal enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. And again, it is Changeling. So these Changeling Shapeshifter type cards, they go hard in the Voja deck. All right, let's go on to Enchantments. All right, I promised you some 1/1 counter cards. The Court of Garenbrig, really important for 1/1 counters. When Court of Garenbrig enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, distribute 2 1/1 counters among up to 2 target creatures. Then, if you're the monarch, double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Great for 1/1 counters. We have the Sylvan Library, all right? You pay 0, draw 2 cards, then choose any 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put that card back on top of your library. Use this ability only during your draw phase and only once each turn. 1/1 counters again. By the way, this card is massive for card draw advantage. Put one in your green deck. Trust me on that. Tribute to the World Tree. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. If its power is 3 or greater, otherwise put 2 1/1 counters on it. All will be 1. In this deck, this card is monstrous. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be 1, deals that much damage to target opponent, creature or opponent, or creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. Now, this one is, it's a funny card because I've wanted this in a lot of my 1/1 counters deck, but a lot of my 1/1 counters deck don't have the red color identity. This one does and is an absolute beast in this deck, all right? Aggravated Assault. Untap all creatures you control. If it's a main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Activate only as a sorcery. With all the beefy 1/1 creatures, you're going to have that extra attack. That's a game changer, all right? Howling Moon, Wolf card. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, target wolf or werewolf to control gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. I said that there wasn't enough strong wolves in Magic. I got to figure out ways to make wolves. Take advantage of Voja, so a lot of these types of cards. Budget Guys, Cradle. Growing Rights of Itbalok. When Growing Rights of Itbalok enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform it. And what does it transform into? Here we go. Add a green to your mana pool, or add a green to your mana pool for each creature you control. And then finally, another massive card in this to trigger Voja. When Annie joins up, enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And if a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Goes hand in hand with Voja. All right, let's talk about instants, sorceries. Enlightened Tutor. You need more tutors in your commander deck. One of the greatest ones of all time. Grab an artifact or an enchantment. Inspiring Call. You play with 1/1 counters. This is a must. This is from Foundations. It's an uncommon. Draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible to the end of turn. In a 1/1 counter deck, this is one of the best cards you can include. Warrior's Oath. Take an extra turn after this one. At the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game. This can be a massive win condition in decks, all right? Galadrim Ambush. Great X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. One of the best removal spells of all time in white. Swords to Plowshare. Path to Exile is another one that, honestly, I should probably put a Path to Exile in this deck. Maybe I did. I did not. I don't have one here. But this card is great. Exile target creature's controller gains life equal to its power. Teferi's Protection. What more do I need to say about this? An absolute game changer, both literally and figuratively. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Taunt from the Rampart. Go to all creatures your opponents control. Until your next turn, those creatures can't block. The Boros Charm. Via way of the Ghostbusters patch. Choose one. Ghostbusters patch deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible till the end of turn. Target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. I'm going to say something controversial you're not going to like, and I'm actually going to, while I say this, pull up my deck list so we could talk a little bit about it. So we're almost at the end of going over these cards. Okay, I got my deck list out, but I love the controversial thing I was going to say that's going to trigger some of you. I love Universes Beyond. I wish they made more Universes Beyond. I wish there was a Universes Beyond of every single card, because I build a lot of Universes Beyond decks. So absolutely love this one, and I love the Ghostbusters. Fireball. I love Fireball. It's an old school card. Fireball does X damage total divided evenly among any number of targets. Pay 1 extra mana for each target beyond the first. Now, why is Fireball in here? A, because I really, really just love Fireball. But at one time, I'm actually looking at this. I probably should replace Fireball, maybe with a Path to Exile, maybe with a Swiftfoot Boots, maybe with something else. The reason I had this in my deck, because I was using the Channel Fireball combo. Don't come at me about Channel being banned again. If you use BV and you use Agatha, you are a degenerate. You are the problem. You can't get mad at me for Channel Fireball. But at one point, I did have a Channel Fireball, and I got rid of it. But I kind of feel like we do need to make a live change here, because I don't have Channel in here anymore. And we can put the Swiftfoot Boots, because I don't have that. So let's do that right now. All right. And Fireball's only worth 40 cents. So might as well make a change to upgrade a little bit. So we're going to remove Fireball. We are going to add the Air Boots from the Sonic Secret Lair, which I love. So we're $3.12. So we added some value to the deck. Not a ton, but I really, really love the Universes Beyond. We're going to use the foil version. There we go. We have added air shoes. So Fireball, you did not make the cut because we no longer have a channel. And we are going to put in the Swiftfoot Boots. We will save that for later when we talk about artifacts, but another piece of commander protection for Voja. And by the way, this is what I do with my decks. One note, when you go look at the deck list for this deck probably will have changed. By the time I get this up on the internet, I tinker with my decks all the time. If I get new cards in, I am constantly adding them, constantly tinkering. I'll tinker card decks every single day. So just be aware, if you look at the deck list and it doesn't match up with this video, it's because I went ahead and adjusted my decks. All right. More instants and sorceries back on track. Answer the Call. One of the greatest budget tutors of all time, Eladrami's Call. And yes, it is budget. Listen, $10 card, I think $11, $12 maybe. I don't know what this is worth. Let's actually look this up right now. This one is worth, is this called Answer the Call? Yes, it's worth $15 because it's the Secret Lair version, if you will. I'm going to switch a printing to take a look at some various prices. Oh, you can get a Masters 25 version for under $10, but yes, this is budget. If you want to go do your DoorDash, you can afford a $10 card. Don't at me about budget cards, all right? Shatterskull Smashing. Oh, and by the way, this allows us to get a creature out of our deck. Shatterskull Smashing. One of those MVFC cards, I believe they are called. MVFC. They're the double modal cards, all right? There's a land on one side, and then we've got this. Shatterskull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose, among up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, Shatterskull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose among them instead. The Veil of Summer. Draw a card. This card's great, by the way. If an opponent has cast a blue or black card this turn, spells you control can't be countered. This turn, you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until the end of the turn. Incredible tutor here, the Green Sun's Zenith. This card's actually fairly expensive. This one goes for, let me see, sorceries, $28.85, but worth every penny. Search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library, and then gamble. Gamble's another great tool to search your library for a card. Put that card into your hand, discard a card at random, and shuffle your library. It's a great red tutor, works even better if you've got some graveyard synergy, all right? So put that in your decks. Let's talk about artifacts. Now, an important part of Voja. Let me get Voja back here. Because Voja is going to be attacking, and because this deck is based around your commander. Some decks are based more around your commander, some are less, but you're going to need commander protection. So we added the Swiftfoot Boots. You just saw that today. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. My opinion, the 3 greatest pieces of commander protection ever. Mithril Coat, indestructible. Huge with Voja. When Mithril Coat enters the battlefield, attach target legendary creature you control. All right. Equipped creature has indestructible. Equip 3. Brotherhood Regalia. Voja can't be blocked. Massive in this deck. Arguably the most important piece of commander protection in this deck. And the Lightning Greaves has haste and shroud. Equip 0. Stack all these up on Voja and just wreck your opponent. Check this out. I have an Urza deck where I feature all these masterpiece inventions, and I really wanted to put that in this deck, but needed to go in this one because of the wolves that we wanted to add, all right? Equipped creature gets +2/+2, protection from green, protection from blue, and when you deal damage, you create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, and that player puts the top 10 cards of his or her library into their graveyard. 1/1 counter synergy, Ozolith the Shattered Spire. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on an artifact or creature you control, that many +1 are put onto it instead. If you pay a couple of mana, 1 being green, and you tap and put a 1/1 counter on a target artifact or creature you control, activate only as a sorcery. Remember we talked about mana ramp being a massive part of Commander? We have the Talisman of Impulse. We have the Talisman of Convention. Huge cards in this deck. We have the Thought Vessel. Love this for a piece of mana ramp, but also the no maximum hand size. We're drawing a lot of cards in this deck, so we're going to need it. Arcane Signet, fabulous piece of mana ramp. One of the better ones if you're playing a 3 or 4 or 5 color deck. Soul Ring, greatest mana ramp card of all time. Soul Ring turn 1 is a massive advantage. This is the reason why I play with Mana Crypt and I play with Jeweled Lotus. This card's better. Like, it's cheaper because they're mass printed, but if you were playing and you had to build a deck, I want you to really think about this. You can have your little band list, and that's fine. Believe in whatever nonsense you believe. There's people that still believe in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. But if you could have 3 cards, you're building a competitive deck, and you can have a Mana Crypt, a Jeweled Lotus, or a Soul Ring. You're always picking the Soul Ring. Like, don't at me about those cards being bad anymore, okay? Staff of Domination. Untapped Staff of Domination. You gain 1 life by paying 2 mana, pay 3 mana, and tap target creature, pay 4 mana, tap a target creature, pay 5 mana, draw a card. I could make an entire video series on the combos you can use with the Staff of Domination, especially with Savala, especially with Marwyn. So this goes in the deck. And then let's just make everything a wolf. Let's make everything an elf so we can just trigger Voja like crazy, and let's create some Shapeshifters. So the Maskwood Nexus, massive card. All right. So there are all the main cards. We have to talk about lands. Now we have a bunch of basic lands here. There's 35 lands in this deck. Probably a little light. Probably would like to go up to 38 if I was truly going to make this ultra competitive. But we have a bunch of basics. I'm going to see if there's any cool basics in here that I really, really like. I like these mountains. All right. I like the Lord of the Rings plains, but I have a whole stack of basics. Now let's go over the non-basic lands because you know what basic lands do, all right? Brushland. These pain lands, I think they're called, are super useful in a commander deck. So we've got some of those. We have Commercial District, one of the surveil lands. Commercial District enters the battlefield tap. When Commercial District enters the battlefield, surveil 1. Surveil 1 is absolutely massive. Listen, Murders of Karlov Manor, go buy them. All right, collector's packs are fairly cheap right now, but this deck is super underrated. I don't know why people didn't like this set that much. I think there's so much value in it, especially for these surveil lands. Speaking of surveil lands, another one, Lush Portico, all right? We have the Reliquary Tower, and you know we were going to have that because we want to have no maximum hand size, all right? If there's any weakness to this deck, I need more cards that have no maximum hand size. Hey, there's an idea. Make me wolves that have the no maximum hand size feature. We have Boseiju, who endures. You add a green mana. If you're building a green deck, this card's got to be in it. Channel, discard Boseiju, who endures. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search your library for a land card with basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Burgelands, Ether Drift, in my opinion, and you're going to hate me for this, but another undervalued set. I absolutely loved Ether Drift, especially for the Burgelands. The Shire, from Lord of the Rings. The Shire enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. You can add a green mana, or you can create some food tokens. Mines of Moria, another card, allows you to create some treasure tokens and also give you a red mana from Lord of the Rings. Arena of Glory, mega powerful land. And this card's actually risen to $11.58 right now because it's so powerful. Modern Horizons 3 has an argument of one of the most powerful Magic the Gathering sets of all time, by the way. But Arena of Glory enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. You can add a green or a red mana. And then if you pay a red mana, you exert it and you add 2 mana. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until the end of turn. And then check this out. Told you I've been playing since 1994. Bobby Maximus, the Muscles, has a lot of dual lands. I think I have about 100 dual lands, but some legit dual lands. We have a Taiga, we have a Plateau, and a Savannah. So there we have it. There's Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. Now, I always promise you the metadata. That's important for decks. Couple things. 1, this deck is worth $1,846. It's an absolute stunner of a deck. It's a bracket 4. It's got 4 game changers. We have a Gamble, a Drannith Magistrate, it's Fairy's Protection, and an Enlightened Tutor. I'm looking off my side computer. Again, there is a deck list of this that you can find on Moxfield. All right, we have a Green Sun Zenith for a tutor, a Gamble for a tutor, a Fauna Shaman, an Enlightened Tutor, and an Eldrami's Call. So 5 tutors in a perfect world. I might want more of those. I like tutors, all right? It's so funny how people are like, I don't want you playing with tutors. It's unfair. But again, they'll go use a Vivi and Agatha's Soul Cauldron combo. So get out of here with that nonsense. There is an illegal card. We have a Dockside Extortionist, all right? So if I was to make one change for this to make this legal, I would probably take out a Dockside, and I would probably add a Craterhoof Behemoth. Just a massive win condition because of all the elf tokens we're going to create and all the creatures we're going to have on the battlefield. And we're going to have all those 1/1 counters, and they're all going to be beefy, so we would want to add Trample, all right? Probably add a Doubling Season. That would work. Maybe an Anointed Procession. That would work. There are some cards we could put in here. Now, Bobby Maximus, this is actually a really good question. Why aren't those in here? Because I didn't have enough of them. I am the most real Magic the Gathering creator on the internet today. And I'll tell you why. Because I use real cards. You know, a lot of these guys, and listen, it's totally cool. They put graphics on the screen. They don't own the cards. One of the unique challenges that I face is imagine building 57 commander decks. And you think this deck's good? I've got 57 commander decks like this, roughly at this level. So you got to make some concessions with cards. If you ever look at my decks and you're like, why doesn't Bobby have a Mox Diamond in here? Because I only own so many Mox Diamonds. Why isn't there a Gaia's Cradle in here? I'd love to have a Gaia's Cradle in here, but I only own 3 of them. So what am I going to do? They went in my other decks, all right? I got one in my Squirrels deck. I got a couple in my Elves deck. You might wonder, why isn't there a Doubling Season here? Well, I don't have so many Doubling Seasons. So just so you know, we only use real cards here. We don't use proxies. We don't use graphics on the screen. I'm doing the best with what I have, which I think is relatable to a lot of people, to be honest with you, because that's how we all build decks, all right? And I wish I had unlimited funds to just go buy all the Magic cards and build. I mean, my goal, truthfully, is 100 commander decks. So here we are. Anyway, one more piece of metadata for you, mana value. I always talk about mana value. The total mana value of the deck matters. If it's under 200, your deck's going to move fast and furious. Now for the questions, because I had to look this up at one point, what is mana value? Well, Voja is 5. This is 1. That means the mana value of these 2 cards is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 18. All right. So the mana value is the total value of the cards put together. Some people pay attention to curve. I think that can get really, really complicated because then you're stacking your cards in all kinds of piles. I go by total mana value and the curve will sort itself out. But if you're under 200, the deck's going to move fast and furious. This deck is a stunning, a spectacular, an insane 173. And that's what makes it one of my most competitive decks. It's got the card draw, it's got the tutors, it's got the mana ramp, but this deck moves insanely fast. If there's one improvement I would make, if Voja had a lower casting cost, I'd say this deck would almost be unbeatable if I could get that out early for card draw advantage. But anyway, this total mana value is 173. If you want to start upgrading your decks, and I'll end the video with this, actually first, subscribe, notifications on, and do me a favor, in the comments, let me know if I've missed some cards. Give me some suggestions. We talked about Anointed Procession. We talked about Craterhoof. We talked about Doubling Season. But if there's any other Shapeshifter cards I missed or things that give my creature Shapeshifter, please, please, please add them to the comments, because I will go search them out. I might have them. I have a bunch of extra cards I've been collecting for 31 years, and I just forgot about them. I can't keep track of all these cards. But please, please help me. But if I can give you one piece of advice to end the show, if you want to make your deck better, put cards that are more powerful for less of a casting cost. So a lot of times when I'm improving my decks, I look at my list and I say, what has a massive casting cost? Now, there's nothing in here with really a massive casting cost, but there are times where I have a card that's an 8 or a 7 or a 6, and if I can get a similar card that's a 2 or a 3, I will make the change, because the deck's going to move faster and it's going to be better. That's where the whole theory of power creep comes from, and that's why a card like the Drannith Magistrate is so powerful, because of the low casting cost. It's why the Esper Sentinel is so powerful, because of the low casting cost. It's why Dockside is a problem for people. If Dockside's casting cost was 5, it wouldn't be banned. It would not be a problem. But for this, it is banned because it's a super fast-moving card. So there you have it, Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, incredible deck. Thank you for spending time with me. I absolutely love this game. Thank you for supporting me, and thank you for helping the channel grow. All kinds of videos all over the internet of this stuff. So support, stay tuned, and thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate you.